5 years since the PlayStation 5 first launched, and yet it feels like yesterday with the global shortages and massive amounts of hype. When you recount the sheer number of incredible titles that have been released for the console ever since, however, the amount of unforgettable experiences, they really start to stack up. Let's take a look at the top 30 best PS5 games of all time, starting with Until Dawn Remake. As good as the original? Well, no, especially when it comes to the soundtrack selection for certain scenes, specific lighting changes in the beginning, and more. However, Until Dawn's remake does offer vastly superior performance and character models alongside new content and death animations. Maybe, just maybe, it'll encourage someone to experience the original and see firsthand why it's superior. For now at least, it's better than the movie, not that that's a high bar to clear. Rise of the Ronin. Unfairly compared to Ghost of Tsushima when it first launched, Team Ninja's open-world action-adventure has its share of bright spots despite the story's shortcomings. Combat is top-notch, as expected from the Neo team. And hey, you can use a bayonet as a hybrid melee/ranged weapon, which is really cool. It may not quite have the budget, but you cannot deny Rise of the Ronin's ambition, especially with the sheer number of factions, branching paths, and combat depth. Mafia: The Old Country. We never really got all of our answers about how Mafia: The Old Country ties into the rest of the series, save for it being a prequel and containing a few cameos. Nevertheless, it was a strong return to everything that made the franchise so memorable, from the gripping narrative and strong characterization to the deeply involving themes. That Sicily looked so stunning to explore is also a plus. Sword of the Sea. Fancy hovering around some stunning environments on a hoversword, trying to piece together the sordid history of the place within 3 hours? Well, Sword of the Sea may satisfy that urge, or leave you confused afterwards. Regardless, it's a seamless blend of snowboarding, surfing, and platforming with deft pacing and more than a few surprises. Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Little Big Planet may be on ice for who knows how long, but Sackboy: A Big Adventure did help fill that void. The vaster movesets, coupled with returning tools like the grappling hook, made for an endearing adventure, especially when playing with a friend. While it didn't necessarily break new ground in the genre, it was still a joyful romp through Craft World. Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2. Last year saw Microsoft finally release its first-party titles on PS5, but this year saw a once iconic character returning to where it all began. We're of course talking about Senua, whose first game debuted on PS4 before coming to Xbox. Suffice it to say that Senua's Saga offers more of the same, but with far more gorgeous visuals, and it works, despite the familiarity of it all. The Neo Collection. 2 excellent titles in one package alongside all their paid DLC and updates for hundreds of hours of action RPG fun. What more could you want? Well, maybe a reprieve from the difficulty. However, the Neo Collection is a sheer testament to Team Ninja's post-Ninja Gaiden design, blending that combo potential with Souls-like fundamentals and more grounded action, even if the loot chase isn't for everyone. Which conveniently brings us to Borderlands 4. It's a good day when you can wake up, play a new Borderlands title, and come away with not bad. Featuring the gunplay of Borderlands 3 and none of the same narrative treatment, its main appeal is its vast world, laden with interesting activities and more build crafting opportunities than ever before. The looter-shooter genre as a whole may seem tapped out, especially on this scale, but Borderlands 4 is still a fun time if you're into the grind. Silent Hill F. With the first hurdle of a competent remake surpassed, Konami faced its next big challenge, delivering a new Silent Hill that was not only fun, but downright terrifying. So naturally, it went scorched earth by having Ryokishi07 pin the narrative and Kara to design the creatures alongside a rural 1960s Japanese town as the setting. Even with complaints surrounding its combat, if there's any horror title you need to experience this year, it is Silent Hill F. Days Gone Remastered. Even in the absence of a new game, you can't keep old Deacon St. John down. Finally arriving on the PS5, Days Gone Remastered offers everything that fans loved about the original, with visual improvements and faster loading times. Permadeath and speedrun modes provide fresh new challenges, while the brand new Horde Assault puts an arcade spin on surviving against an overwhelming amount of freakers, complete with its own progression. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Jokes about remastering a title that wasn't even a decade old aside, Guerrilla Games poured a significant amount of time and resources into revamping Horizon Zero Dawn for this remaster. Environments were changed, matching Forbidden West in terms of graphical fidelity, and entire cutscenes were overhauled and improved thanks to re-recorded dialogue. Otherwise, its gameplay fundamentals are as enjoyable as ever. Absolem. The very best in beat-em-up combat is mixed with deceptively simple upgrades and a branching world design that suits the genre as much as the storytelling. Saying it looks downright amazing would be an understatement, but it also packs in a surprisingly great soundtrack with a who's who's of composers on board. Suffice it to say that if you're going in for more Streets of Rage 4 style goodness, Absolem will easily surpass those expectations. Helldivers 2. The sole success of Sony's live service initiative, and it's easy to see why. Arriving almost out of nowhere to deliver explosive co-op action that's easy to get into and impossible to put down, Helldivers 2 has grown into a behemoth of weapons, enemies, mission types, and more. It's almost detrimental in a way, given the technical issues, but when you can run around together in Killzone and Halo armor sets, it is beyond worth it. Demon's Souls Remake. Aggravating as it is that Bluepoint was relegated to making a live service title for all of these years, at least we got the long-requested remake of Demon's Souls. Purists may scoff at some of the visual choices and their effect on the atmosphere, and yet this remake brings the From Software title into the contemporary age, idiosyncrasies and all, proving that some classics truly are timeless. Returnal. From arcade shooters that it claimed wouldn't sell to delivering one of the most pulse-pounding third-person action games of all time, Housemarque has had quite the journey. Returnal is a heck of a stop on the way though, with Atropos presenting environments that are as brutalizing as they are lovingly surreal. Its take on the roguelike formula may not be for everyone, but when it comes to fast-paced action and bullet hell mechanics, few games can top it. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Showcasing the sheer speed of the PS5's SSD, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart's clever usage of rifts allowed for dimension-hopping adventures the likes of which the series had never seen. But even if you ignore the technical wizardry, it's just a stellar platformer all around with its traversal mechanics, combat, and the sheer charm of its leading duo. Gran Turismo 7. The most drop-dead, stunning game in Polyphony Digital's long, illustrious history, and also the most controversial. But has that stopped Gran Turismo 7 from delivering the very best racing sim action this generation, especially after Forza Motorsport's fumble? Well, not by a long shot, and the plethora of updates thus far, including the upcoming Spec 3 update, have made it even more worthwhile. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. After successfully reviving Silent Hill, it was Metal Gear Solid's turn, that too where it all chronologically began. And while Delta Snake Eater threw in some notably new features, from the over-the-shoulder camera to the revamped visuals and quality of life, it was, unabashedly, exactly like the original. Love it or hate it for that reason, it's still a fantastic remake for one of the greatest of all time. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Yes, The Last of Us Part 2 isn't technically a native PS5 title, and yes, the series' re-releases are getting a little too excessive. On the other hand, it's still a fantastic game with a story and twist that's vehemently argued about to this day. The mix of survival mechanics and responsive gameplay, coupled with the larger environments to explore and even more heart-pounding set pieces, all wrapped up in that signature post-apocalyptic atmosphere, it's still a powerful combo to this day. Throw in the roguelike No Return and other goodies and, well, you've got an even Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Bigger, better, and somehow offering the same runtime, Insomniac's sequel puts a somewhat darker twist on Peter Parker's journey as Spider-Man. In reality, it expands on the original in some truly spectacular ways, from the varied playstyles to the customization and plethora of suits. Plus, Manhattan, alongside Brooklyn and Queens, has never looked better or flowed as seamlessly as you web-sling through them at breakneck speeds. Black Myth Wukong. It's not often that something so unbelievably gorgeous delivers on its mountain of expectations, but Black Myth Wukong made it look easy. The stunning art direction and presentation are backed by an equally involving combat system and some of the coolest boss battles in a video game. Wukong is more than just a great action RPG though, it's also a testament to the sheer game development talent in China. Forza Horizon 5. For years, PS5 players have heard about the brilliance of Forza Horizon 5. The extensive roster of cars, now at 900 and counting, the attention to detail of Mexico, its various jaw-dropping locations, and the sheer amount of content to experience. But for all of its intricacies, systems, and realistic physics, if that's what you're into, Playground Games' open-world racer is just the perfect fantasy for any car enthusiast to let loose. Astro Bot, a pitch-perfect platformer with a presentation that's equal parts stunning and endearing, packed with the best that the genre has to offer in terms of levels and mechanics, all without any fluff, and paying tribute to PlayStation's extensive history. That somewhat describes Team Asobi's Astro Bot in a nutshell, but you could also just call it a masterpiece. It may not boast the same scale as many of Sony's other heavy hitters, but its heart is unmatched, making for an exclusive that everyone should play. That Sandfall Interactive's first title could launch this year and catapult up to the list of must-play games of all time is a testament to its brilliance. And make no mistake, Clair Obscur is brilliant in every single way that should matter in a role-playing game. Full of wondrous locales to explore, an involving story with memorable characters, a fantastic combat system that mixes turn-based and real-time actions to excellent effect, and the music. Oh, the music. If you haven't experienced it already, well, what are you waiting for? Sony's Santa Monica studio is no stranger to going all out when it's time to end a story, and Ragnarok's no exception. Themes of family, betrayal, belonging, and more are all tackled. Vast lands teeming with dangerous new threats are revealed, and the sheer amount of combos that you can potentially pull off is even more insane than ever. Ragnarok is the studio's magnum opus, and the fact that it added an entire roguelike expansion, Valhalla, on top as an epilogue for free only further sweetens the deal. Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. Let it not be said that Guerrilla Games didn't follow the rule of more with Horizon Forbidden West. More machines, weapon types, armor sets, activities, side quests, fidelity, characters, locations. The list goes on, and Horizon Zero Dawn isn't a small game. Amid all of this, it even offered some shocking revelations, not to mention a much-requested boss fight in the expansion, Burning Shores. It's been almost 4 years since its release, but Horizon Forbidden West remains an addictive open-world experience. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Venturing beyond the confines of Midgar didn't just mean experiencing the broader world of Final Fantasy VII as a whole. It also meant a completely new approach to exploration. More minigames and optional activities, not to mention side quests where key party members took the lead to go with additional challenging bosses, all wrapped up in an open world format. And that's not even getting into all of the improvements with the combat, summons, and the sheer insanity of the story. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gets some flack for certain sequences going too long, but for longtime fans and RPG enthusiasts alike, it's simply breathtaking in almost every way. Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree. Like a certain scarlet-rotted blade, Elden Ring and its expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree, simply won't know defeat. Are there areas where it falters, especially in performance? Absolutely. But for us, it's such a masterclass in open-world design and action RPG combat. That first moment where you step out and gaze upon Limgrave, that moment where Stormvale Castle is conquered and you look out upon the deeper world, the first nightmarish moments of Caelid, and who can forget wandering into the land of shadow and getting uppies from the Furnace Golem? Elden Ring wears its influences, from Breath of the Wild to Dark Souls, on its sleeve, and delivers a magical journey that few other games have managed to surpass. Ghost of Yotei. Plenty of revenge sagas ask how far you'd go, but Ghost of Yotei offered a slightly different twist, which led to a more layered narrative. Of course, it also took everything about Ghost of Tsushima and elevated it to whole new levels, whether it was the natural flow of its open world, the sheer variety in activities, or the responsive combat. Overall, a fantastic title and more than a worthy follow-up to its 2020 predecessor. However, at the very top of the PS5 mountain sits Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. You probably saw this one coming. Much has been said about Hideo Kojima and his, well, let's say unique storytelling. However, Death Stranding 2 didn't just up the emotional quotient while introducing various unforgettable new characters. It also made vast improvements to the original's gameplay, accommodating those who favored stealth, going in guns blazing, or the familiar friction-filled hiking. The sheer visual fidelity is top tier among games this generation, and it all ties together into a satisfying tearjerker of an ending. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.